Good morning. Welcome to the first show of 2022. We've got James Macintosh, who's the president and the director of GRAYCLIFF Resources. This is going to be very interesting. This is a hot zone, and we're excited to launch our 22 season of Digging Deeper with Red Cloud. Looking forward to this conversation. I think it's going to be a good one. Let's get right to it. How are you doing? And tell us a little bit about GRAYCLIFF.
Great. Thank you for having me on, and I look forward to sharing what we believe is going to be a very successful year for GRAYCLIFF. GRAYCLIFF is an interesting company in that I think it stands alone in that it's a fairly tightly held structure. We have two good gold projects. One is a historic brownfield site, and the other is a greenfield site, and they're within a short distance of each other, and I can drive there on the Trans-Canada Highway. So it's a pretty nice position to be in where you've got excellent infrastructure and good projects. I really think the team that we have is part of the magic. Strong technical expertise, experts in finding gold discoveries in Ontario. So it's a really interesting project.
Well, let me jump in there because the team is always a great place to start. I mean, yourself, you've got 34 years experience as a research analyst in mining, specifically corporate finance management, lots of private companies. You're a geologist as well. So you're hitting all those check boxes of a financial analyst. You understand the markets, you understand geology. And that's often I don't like to find that people want to kind of bum about what they've done, but maybe you could bum about some of the other people in the company that really are standout as well.
Yeah. I tend to be a little bit modest that way, but but my technical advisors are Bruce Durham, who's our QP. Bruce has been credited with discovery of two of the three Hemlo deposits. As everyone knows, Hemlo has now mined in excess of 26 million ounces out of three deposits that are all within a kilometer of each other.
Yes, pretty
incredible. Don McKinnon Jr., of course, his father being one of the co-discoverers of numerous Hemlo deposits and deposits around the world. And with those two gentlemen, they not only bring technical expertise, but they bring a suite of drillers and geologists and really solid people that I've enjoyed working with. I've been out in the field with them. They know what they're doing. They're very particular about how they do their work. And we're seeing the results of that so far in the first two phases of drilling, and I believe we'll continue to see it in phase 3.
It goes without saying. I mean, this Abitibi Green Shield belt, across Quebec and Ontario, probably arguably the hottest postal code last year and this year moving forward. It goes without saying. I mean, you've got infrastructure, you've got lots of interest. There's tons of history and data, lots of massive discoveries. But with that too is, and people not kind of aware, generalist investors, the flight to try to get property in any of these postal codes to then even kind of accumulate a package. That's a whole show unto itself to be able to even find them, to get them. But then when you have them, and then to attract the likes of the technical team you have, adds a little icing to the cake.
Yeah, we're really happy. We started out with around 800 hectares at the very beginning. We're now at over 1,000 hectares of land. That's one continuous package. We were able to negotiate with a number of smaller holders that held ground in the area, and it really was. Yeah, you can see on that first slide there, some of the stuff I was chatting about. But what's really interesting is it's not only one Crown patented lease and two Crown leases, but 40 mineral claims. So it's now one contiguous block. And we were able to do that because we were tightly held, and we're all shareholders. Every single one of us that works on this company is a shareholder. And, you'll continue to see the new people in our stock and participating.
Yeah, and I'd asked you that just before because and I just want to reiterate, it's like capital structure. It's 36 million shares out or something. So this is tight. You've raised money as well, so you're ready, raring to go. But I was saying, what, to be able to get this package and to get the people that you've got involved is challenging enough. But I was saying, what else kind of makes you stand out? And you were telling me, like, literally everybody involved is a stakeholder in this.
Yeah, it's really nice. Our drillers are shareholders. Some of our geologists are also shareholders. So it's really, it sets us apart, I think, a little bit, because when we call them and ask them to do an extra shift, they're like, yep, okay, it's good for the stock, we'll do that. And it also means one of the issues a lot of smaller junior companies are having right now is they can't access people.
Yeah.
So they've got a good property, they can't get into it, and they can't access it. And, we've got an excellent team that are all committed to making GRAYCLIFF a success. So, interestingly enough, Andrew, we did 2 phases of drilling. We did the initial phase with 7 holes. Phase 2 is 14 holes, but we've drilled 24 holes in phase 3 already. So we're really excited about getting those results out to the market.
And those results, I mean, tough. I mean, we know the assay is in what I say it all the time on here, so we won't belabor that topic. But I mean, it could be any time soon. It could be a week away. It could be a month. But you're anticipating in the near term.
Yeah. So I mean, you look at this slide here for those that are looking at the slides, and phase 1 was 7 holes. Well, we hit gold in 5. In phase 2, we had 14 holes, and we hit in 8. Those are incredible results. And, the numbers are not insignificant.
No.
In phase 1, probably, 5.5 grams, 5.4 grams, 8.6 grams, all over reasonable widths at a reasonable depth. So that whole section in phase 1 was all above surface, because the way this deposit sits, the Miller shaft is above ground by about 200 feet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's on the edge of a cliff, basically. So
Yes.
on the edge of a cliff. So you really do have an interesting scenario. But when we started, we really were open at depth. And then phase 2, you can see we started to increase the size at depth. But we're continuing, we believe, to hit good stuff below what's in this diagram. And we're still getting, 16 grams over, at a depth of 89 meters is amazing.
That's super shallow. That's very shallow, especially
and 16 meters wide. Like, those are big sections.
Yeah, that's huge. I was going to ask that, like, for a place like here, that is kind of a little bit unique, because often we hear like kind of more shallowy vein type of, or like deeper veiny kind of things where it's 2 meters width. This is very wide.
Yeah, we're obviously, we're averaging over 16 meters. So we do have that kind of somewhat nuggety gold in some areas. But we also have gold in the background. We probably have multiple phases of mineralization with this deposit because of the amount of folding and faulting. And, as with many things in the Sudbury Basin, there's an intense amount of deformation and folding and faulting. We're right on the edge of the Murray Fault, which is a 250 kilometer regional structure. So, you're getting into something where there's big splays off the fault. Every time you get that kind of activity, you have mobilization of fluids, and we're lucky in the case of the area in the proximity of the shaft to have a lot of mineralization in that activity. So, interestingly enough, you'd like this one, Andrew. The Miller shaft is named the Miller shaft by us in honor of the prospector that found the original nugget in a vein at surface.
Oh, excellent.
It was over 250 ounces per ton. So they basically sank the shaft right there by hand in 1902.
Wow.
And gold was $19 an ounce.
$19.
So, it's we've come a long way since then.
Yes.
But, with phase 3, we're kind of excited. We've probably put in about 2,000 or 3,000 meters of drilling already in phase 3.
Yep.
There'll be more this year. but we want to make sure that we have some assays so we're not wasting money by drilling without knowing where we should be drilling.
Yes, yes. And also, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and we did try to complete an airborne geophysical survey last year. And because of weather conditions and COVID, it kept getting delayed. We have about 40 meters left to go. So we should be done here in January, and then we'll be able to analyze that. And what's really interesting about that is that will not only cover Shakespeare, but will also cover Baldwin because they're so close together.
Yes, so
there's a slide that showed Baldwin on it. Can we go back to that one?
We'll scroll back up.
Where is it? A little farther up. No, down. Sorry, down. There, the purple one. Yeah. So you can see on that one, the Shakespeare is the blue outline. Baldwin is the black. That's how close they are.
Yes.
And what we really liked about it was in the assessment reports, the geology in the drilling that was done in the 40s and 50s when they were looking for uranium post Second World War, they only assayed for uranium, but the drill core looked very similar to what we're finding at Shakespeare. So we're pretty excited.
That is very cool. And I mean, you guys, like, and when you say depth, I just kind of want to throw this out as a reminder. In these kind of areas, like you can go like 2 kilometers down. Like,
oh yeah,
like there's depth. And what's the deepest hole you guys have been like kind of
playing around 365 meters?
Okay, yeah. So there's plenty of room when people say at depth to go.
And we could easily ramp down to that level from ground. So we'd go in on the number 3 at it and then just ramp down. So it's not like it's not like you're starting from scratch. This is a brownfield site. Yes. And that's a huge advantage to us.
Yeah, because I was going to say with like obviously the quality of the structure is fine. You can get down into it, and that makes it a lot easier than trying to think we're going to go right from ground, drill 2 kilometers down. The cost then goes through the roof.
Yeah, no, it's a big advantage we have, and I think the other thing is we believe that the potential of Baldwin is fairly significant.
Yep.
If we do have the same kind of gold numbers at Baldwin that we have at Shakespeare, we have the makings of a new Ontario gold camp, and that's pretty exciting too.
That is exciting, and especially when they're so close. You already have infrastructure, everything else. I mean, and it's not a small thing when you say like work crews. It's an issue everywhere for every project in every sector, and we were kind of joking that you've got ones that are like they own stock, so they're very motivated. But even if you took that away, someone's going to look and go, oh, like I want to be able to stay close to restaurants, close to somewhere comfortable, a bed, rather than way out in a field. Like if they're picking projects, they're going to pick more friendly, attractive ones to work at.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We could easily, and we've done it where we were on site and we drove to Espanola for lunch and came back. So, and that was with some investors, but you can do that. It's not difficult from there. So it's an easy drive. So, and we do obviously, we work on other projects with people and a lot of the guys are really set because it's easy to get to. A lot of them are Timmins and Sudbury, and it's an easy drive.
And the other like really interesting thing too is not only because it's like a renovation story, there's a ton of data, is that with Bruce Durham and Don McKinnon, I mean, they've been involved in so many of these discoveries, and they would see as you're moving forward, when you're seeing the types of heat maps and whatnot, is, that's a very strong, that's a strong group. They're in that region, that geology, they understand it, and they would know what to look for as well. So it's,
yeah, we're really lucky to have both of those gentlemen and the crew they bring along, because they really do add an incredible amount of value. One of the things we're doing right now is we're working with a person who's doing 3D modeling for us. And we've not only input all of the historic data, including the old mine plans, but also all of the holes are being put in as we receive the assays. And it's going to be a very powerful tool for us, because it's going to give us what no one else has ever done with this project, which is what is the genesis and where is the next place to drill. And the other advantage of that geophysical survey is there's a lot of copper on this ground. We don't really talk about it,
Yeah.
but we have very significant copper, lead, zinc. In some of the surface sampling we did to the northeast along trend, we have 3% copper in samples
Oh,
at
wow.
surface.
Excellent. Yeah.
So, we know that in every single hole we've drilled so far, we have polymetallics in addition to the gold. So
I'm glad you answered that, because David in our chat was like, "What else you got there? What have you got?" So thank you, David, for asking for any of the other polymaterials or polymetallic.
Well, it's interesting if you've heard of Magna Minerals. They have the Shakespeare Nickel Mine, which is to the northeast of us, and they've staked right up to our northeastern boundary because they believe their nickel deposit actually comes onto our ground.
See, that's interesting too, and that's the great. I mean, nickel's been doing very well. All of these are critical moving forward.
It's really nice to have a property that's so well mineralized and in such an area where there is intense mineralization. As you said, historically, this area has a lot of mines, so we hope to add another one back.
And I'm glad you touched on it, and just because I try to put my kind of, if I was looking at things as brand new generalist. And people would think, well, how come why wouldn't they have just mined it before? Like, why not? And you touch on it a bit, is that the way that you can model now, the technology, everything else, the amount of expertise that's happened in the last, even just say 15 years, never mind decades, is startlingly impressive. But I'll let you answer that. But that's
so I would say historic, going through the assessment reports, and that's available in our 43-101. You can see all the historic work. Which is on CDAR. But when we went through it, one of the things we looked at was a lot of people did massive step outs, a kilometer, more than a kilometer.
Wow.
But until you know what your mineralization or the style of your mineralization, doing a step out of that significant is really, it's a shot in the dark.
Yes.
And if you miss, you're not going to get any more funding. So they moved on to the next project. And, we all know with geology, you can, they sank the Trans-Canada Highway right through the Hemlo area. And that's, one of the first outcrops they found was on the side of the highway.
I know, it's such a funny story.
So you can miss stuff. It's possible when you're shooting, with a shotgun.
Yes.
When you target where you're going, you're more likely to find more gold. So.
Yeah, and that's a giant step out, and that's very ambitious.
Yeah, but I mean, they were looking for a giant, and stepping out. We believe there's a lot of ounces in the area of the shaft, and then we'll use that data to step out more in a more structured way.
Excellent. So let's do a little quick recap. Tight share structure. This is really good. You've got cash. So you're ready to go for drill season, right? So
we're fully funded for 2022. We have access to 2 drills, and we can get a 3rd drill if we wish to. So we could actually do some drilling at Baldwin this year as well.
Okay.
And so we're fully ready to go with the 2 projects and the excellent team and the infrastructure and being fully funded. We think 2022 is going to be an incredible year for GRAYCLIFF.
And probably, I'm guesstimating spring, hoping to start drilling.
We're going to hold off a little bit on the drilling until we have some more data. Because quite honestly, with the assay labs, a lot of them now are going through Omicron, and everything is delayed. I feel bad for them, but they will have the assay results to us, and they're working very diligently. And so, we'll have a pretty solid stream of information for everybody starting up hopefully later this week or next week.
Yeah. And I like to mention that because people say, oh, what's the urgency? You go, well, because there's results waiting, pending, and you don't know. It's like Christmas. It could be tomorrow. It could be a month from now. But so, and I always want people to think okay, well, can I wait a couple weeks? Go, honestly, can't tell you.
Yeah, I mean, we suffered like every other junior from year-end tax loss selling. We've seen that end, and we've seen the stock bump already starting out for 2022. And we see there's a lot of upside to come.
Absolutely. A ton of check boxes already checked off. And we're looking forward to keeping in touch to see what the news flow is and when it comes out. But definitely, team, right area, very, very optimistic outview for sure. And I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here and chat with us about it.
Well, Andrew, I look forward to chatting with you soon and when we have some results out, and hopefully, we can do this again soon.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, James. Enjoy the rest of your day, and really appreciate this one.
Thanks a lot, Andrew.
Take care.
Cheers.